Hi, I'm Rebekah Ricks. I'm here at the Homeschool Connection and with our weekly show, The Brew. And a brew is a mixture of events, people, or things that come together to form a more potent whole, and we want to make your whole a whole lot better. So of course I have my afternoon cup of joe, because who doesn't need me a pick-me-up in the afternoon, especially on Mondays, because Mondays have been crazy for me. So we take one more drink and then we'll go in today, and we're going to be talking about what is necessary to graduate as a Florida requirements for high school graduation for a homeschooler. So let's talk about this for a little bit and then we'll go through some requirements. So technically, you don't get a high school diploma as a homeschooler. Okay, so you can't officially get a high school diploma as a homeschooler. I know that sounds crazy, but the way most people do it is they go through what's an umbrella school. And when you do that, you technically graduate from a private school. So you become a private school student when you go through an umbrella school, or a non-traditional private school is what it is. So then you have to fulfill the requirements that you would need for a private school. Or you can graduate with a public school, but you technically don't graduate. You don't technically have a high school diploma if you graduate as a homeschooler. So let's pretend you don't want to pay for an umbrella school. You can still do it. There is still a way, okay? We now have what's called an affidavit of homeschool, which most colleges have. So you submit your transcript. You can write it yourself. You can have someone write it for you. You submit a transcript, which is kind of like a resume of all the classes that you've taken during high school. And there are requirements that we need in Florida for those. So Florida high school requirements, the state requires that you take in high school. But let's say you wanted to go to UF and you didn't want to get a high school diploma. You could still apply to UF and go, because they do accept homeschoolers. Yay, you can still even get bright futures as a homeschooler. But what you would have to do is submit a transcript. You'd have to fill out whatever that college's affidavit of homeschool is. Basically, you take the transcript down to a notary and then they notarize it. And then you'd still have to be able to pass the entrance exam. Okay, so the SAT or ACT requirements, whatever their SAT or ACT requirements are to get into that school. So if you want you to get bright futures, it's a 27, I believe, for the basic, for the Bright Future Scholarship. So you would still have to be able to do those three things to get into college and then get accepted. So basically, colleges don't care about where you graduated from high school. They care what you got on your SAT and ACT. They don't really care where you got it from. They want to make sure you can pass those tests with a high score. If you can pass the test, then you don't technically graduate. You don't have a high school diploma. Can this hurt you later? Well, sometimes it's a little bit hard to explain. It can kind of hurt you only if you're going to work for a government agency. Sometimes going into the military, that's hard to explain. They want a high school diploma. Police departments in Florida, sheriff's departments in Florida, even anything county or state, you need a high school diploma to graduate, to be able to work there. Or they require you to get a GED. So it's kind of a sticky line there. You can kind of figure out how you want to do it personally. I kind of recommend going with a very established umbrella school, a school that has been around for a while, that has it. So let's say you want to go to umbrella school, or let's say you don't want to. There are still some things that you have to take in high school here in Florida. So you need 4 credits. Well, there's actually 4 options. You have 4 options to get a high school diploma. You can do the 24 credit option, which most people do, a 24 credit option. You can do an 18 credit, it's called an ACCEL diploma, an academically challenging curriculum to enhance learning. So let me say that again. Say that fast 5 times. An academically challenging curriculum to enhance learning. All right. So you can do that. That's 18 credit hours. You can do an AICE diploma, which is an advanced international certificate of education, or you can do an IB diploma, an international baccalaureate, or an IB program. Okay, so most people will do a 24 credit hour option, is what I usually recommend to do your 24 credit hours. Now, before we move on, a lot of times people ask, what exactly, how many hours is a credit? And by law, a credit is 130 hours. So if you've tracked 130 hours of a class, it should be a credit. So what do we need for credits? Well, you need 4 English. Yay, you need 4 math. And I hope everyone who's listening is ready. 1 of your math have to be Algebra 1, and the second one has to be geometry. As of July 2017, everyone going into high school from 2017 to 2018 years. So if you have a high school student this year or on, there are new high school requirements. This makes me happy and sad. You do not have to take Algebra 2 anymore to graduate from high school. Yay! As an Algebra 2 teacher, I have mixed emotions about that. But I do understand there are some kids who just never get Algebra 2. But, so that's kind of a new thing. So the new kids coming in, everybody else still has to. The new, as of 2017, we got rid of the Algebra 2 EOC, so you do not need it to graduate from high school. But if you are going to college, I know, you will still probably need it to get into college. Also, the Algebra 2 is really important if you're taking your SATs and ACTs. So plug for math teachers like me who you still need the Algebra 2, but if you specifically struggle with the math and Algebra 2 is almost impossible, you can now get a high school diploma without taking Algebra 2. Mixed emotions on that. Kind of, I love teaching it. Side note, I love teaching Algebra 2. I'm that person. So you need 4 English, 4 math, one of which is Algebra 1, and one of which is geometry. You need 3 credits of science, one of which has to be biology, and 2 of your 3 science credits have to have a lab with it, a lab component. You need 3 social studies credits, and those are pretty much set. US, world, and government and economics. You have to have 1 fine arts credit, performing arts, speech and debate, or practical arts. Okay, so you have to take some sort of fine arts. You have to take 1 PE credit, which must include some sort of integration of health in it. You have to take 8 electives, and 1 of those 24 credits has to be an online class. And you have to earn a 2.0. So those are the credits for you to take to get into high school. Now, a traditional student takes 4 years. We do have a 5-year option. So we can, if it's gonna take someone a little bit longer, you can do a 5-year. We give an extra leeway because let's pretend your 9th grader came in and they completely goofed around their 9th grade year and failed a bunch of classes and have a low GPA. We can retake them. We have grade forgiveness, so we can do that. You can also do grade recovery. So you can have a 5th year. We now allow a 5th year for high school graduation. Couple things you can do. So really right now, the EOCs have kind of changed. So I kind of thought the biggest new change is no Algebra 2. So we no longer has, as of July 1st, 2017, the Algebra 2 EOC assessment was eliminated and the requirement to take Algebra 2 has gone away. So that's the newest thing that has really changed in it. A lot of times I get asked about civics. Okay, so in public school you take civics in 8th grade. So I get asked sometimes, is the civics EOC assessment required to go on to 9th grade? And no. If you take civics, the EOC is 30% of its grade, but it's not necessary to have civics to go on to high school. So if you haven't taken civics, it's okay. Let's talk a little bit about the ACCEL option, the academically challenging curriculum to enhance learning. All right, so that is 18 credits. So what's the difference between that and a 24 credit? Well, you only need to take 3 electives instead of 8, 3 hours of electives instead of 8. Number 2, PE is not required, and an online course is not required. So basically just eliminated, just a few credits. 3 instead of 8, so that's 5 electives you don't have to take and 1 physical education. So it's six different credits than you need to. And that is an option. Get asked sometimes, can a 5-year high school student elect to graduate under the 18 credit ACCEL option? Yes, they can. So if you have a student that might have struggled a lot during high school, they can do that. So that's really exciting. But there is such a thing as early graduation. An early graduation is if you graduate in less than 8 semesters. But if a student graduates in less than 8 semesters, then they do still have to take 24 credits. Or no, they can't do the 18 credit. They have to still take 24 credits. And the GPA has to be a 2.0. So there is no way around the 2.0. You have to have a 2.0 GPA to graduate from high school. Pretty much that's it. PE courses, what can I count as a PE credit? Well, according to the law, participation in a sport, an interscholastic sport for 2 full seasons will satisfy 1 credit. So a whole season of a sport is just half a credit. So I know I get asked that a lot, but it's only half a credit. Sorry guys. So you have to play 2 seasons of a sport to count as a credit. You can, though, count marching band or an extracurricular activity as a dance class will satisfy a half credit, or a half credit of dance. Well, a year of dance satisfies a half credit as a high school credit, or a half credit of fine arts, your fine arts credit. So does ROTC. If you do ROTC, that covers your PE. If you, let's see, graduation for requirements for students with disabilities, which I think is a whole nother ball of wax, and we can open that up and maybe have a whole different one that we talk about. But you can get a waiver to not have to do an online class and get a 24 credit hour. And that's kind of a step through. But if there's a reason that you can't do an online class, that you can still get a 24 credit. So I guess summing up, because I feel like I've talked for a while here, you do have a couple EOCs you have to pass. If you're passing with a public school, you do have to pass the Algebra 1 EOC. That is a pass-fail test. If you do not pass the test, you do not pass the class. You also have to do EOCs for biology, geometry, and U.S. history, and that is like a final. It's 30% of your grade. And you can also do what's called CAP, Credit Acceleration Program. So you can take AP exams or CLEP exams and not actually have to take the class to get the credit for. And you can do that for biology, geometry, U.S. history, Algebra 1. There's a whole list of CLEP classes you can do. So if you have a high school student who is great at test taking, you can study for the CLEP test and then just go in and take that CLEP. Let's see, anything else I wrote here? Make any other notes? We will go through it later, but I will make another video soon about what is needed for Bright Futures is kind of the next thing we need to talk about. So, and Bright Futures is a whole different ball of wax. There's some really specific requirements for that. So hopefully that answered your questions a little bit about what you need to graduate from high school. In a nutshell, 4 English, 4 math, 3 science, 3 history. 1 PE credit, 1 fine arts credit, 8 electives, and 1 of those have to be an online class. So if you have any questions, because I know there's kind of a lot of loopholes and questions on those things, you know, give me a comment and I'll try to answer those as much as possible, or ask me. So hopefully you enjoyed that. We'll be back on Friday morning with an extra shot of espresso, which is our devotional time. And if you could like our video, share it. If you have questions, just add them to the bottom of this. And we look forward to seeing you next time. Hope you all have a great evening.